And I would like to introduce the President of Armenia, Mr. Armեն Սարգսյան, to take the rostrum. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, of course it's great pleasure and great honor for me to be present today and address this very prominent audience and talk about issues that are very key to the future of my nation. I'll try to make it short, but to the point. The first part of my speech, I will try to call it name it with a title. Probably the title will be Rediscover Armenia, or the known and unknown of Armenian nation. Of course, it's known for many of you and worldwide that Armenia is one of the cradles of civilization. We're speaking about thousands of years in the Mesopotamia, and we're speaking about a country that celebrated last week the 2800th anniversary of its capital city, Yerevan, where I come from. It's also known that that civilization, being a crossroad of many civilizations, religions, interests, and also trade, was also a big part of cooperation between nations. What is not known, I realized and I realized that recently when I was in New York and visited the Metropolitan Museum. There's a beautiful exhibition there called Armenia. And I advise whoever will be in New York the upcoming 3-4 months to visit that exhibition. It's organized by Metropolitan, showing Armenia, medieval Armenia, as a core component of the Silk Road. It's not only that Armenia was located on the Silk Road, but also that Armenians were working in Middle Ages from Manila, Singapore, Bombay, to Samarkand, Bukhara, through Armenia to Lyon and Manchester. So it was a core component of the Silk Road. So this is the known Armenia, and the unknown one that even me has discovered that in Metropolitan just a couple of weeks ago. It's also known recently that in Armenia we had a revolution in April. It was all over the BBC, Euronews, European organizations of media. After just a week after my inauguration, we had a crisis where there was a huge pressure on the government, and the prime minister, newly elected prime minister, who was former president, resigned, and the leader of that opposition movement, or popular movement, became the next prime minister of Armenia. So this is quite well known. The revolution, which was called in Europe and elsewhere the Velvet Revolution of Armenia, because we can be proud that we did a major change in our country, a transformation without bloodshed, on confrontation, in a very peaceful way, with huge demonstrations on the street, but no confrontation. That's a well-known Armenia. But there's another Armenia which is unknown. Years ago in Armenia, the fourth industrial revolution, or the digital revolution, had started. Armenia today, we can say definitely, has the best IT sector if you take the former Soviet Union. And we have huge companies from Silicon Valley, Europe, having their presence in Armenia, and Armenia has close interaction and connection with all of the major centers of high tech and IT. So this is the unknown revolution that has happened in Armenia. And our nation has entered the era of the fourth industrial revolution and the era of the digital life, maybe earlier than some of other countries. So these are the known and unknown Armenians. Now, but why should someone think about investing in a country like Armenia, which is a small country, only 3.5 million population? But I would like to remind that the reality is it's a small state, but a global nation. There are 4-5 times more Armenians living abroad. There are as many Armenians living in Russian Federation as in Armenia. There are as many Armenians living in our capital city as in Los Angeles, or in France, or in Middle East, or in Singapore. There are huge. So it's a small nation, but it's a small state, but a global nation, which in the 21st century is a great advantage. In the 21st century, the world is becoming smaller and smaller, interconnected, interactive, having a global network, one of the rare states and nations in the world that has this advantage. The second is that we are a state that has very good relations culturally, economically, politically, and we have signed in November last year an agreement with European Union, a deep agreement with European Union. In the meantime, Armenia is a part of Eurasia Economic Union. Factually, we are the only state that is building bridge between Eurasia economically and Europe, and we would like to continue this to happen. Third factor is the one that I said already, is that we are a global nation. And that global nation in the 21st century is completely involved with the country, involved in a way that even during the revolution, it was not a revolution of a classical style with a political party, organization, demonstration. It was something of 21st century after the Industrial Revolution. It was a revolution of Facebooks. And those who were participating were not only the citizens of the Republic of Armenia, but also those who lived in California, in Argentina, in France, in Britain, or in Beirut, or in Armenians in Madras. So the whole Armenian nation, which is beyond around 12 or 15 million, was engaged in the changes, political changes. But the same people can and will be engaged in the industrial revolution of Armenia, and will be engaged in the economic development of Armenia. The fourth reason that I would like to emphasize the importance of education. It was known during the Soviet era that Armenia had very high level of education. It's not an accident that except very good universities in the country, research centers on physics, chemistry, biology, small Armenia had an electron positron accelerator and a world-famous astrophysical center in Burakan. So that tradition continues now, and we are proud to say that we have fantastic centers of education in Armenia. Even we export new ideas and themes of education even to the West. Just a couple of weeks ago in Paris, they opened a center which is called TUMO, an idea of giving extra school, outside school education in high-tech and digital education, which is an avant-garde of 21st century, how you teach children to become an IT experts and how to use computers. It's a network in Armenia. It's a joint venture of someone that were used to work in Intel, Armenian diaspora, and local Armenians with the government. So we export this now to Astana, we export now to Paris, tomorrow to St. Petersburg and Moscow, and so on and so forth. Education matters here. And then, of course, stability of the economy. Last year, Armenia showed something around 7.5% of growth. We had a revolution. This year, we're going to show more or less the same result. So nothing changed. There was a big change, political change, but economy was stable. Armenia has probably the best financial and banking sector in the network of former Soviet republics. We have more than 20 banks, and they are representing banks from HSBC, Crédit Agricole, other European banks, banks from Lebanon, banks from Cyprus, banks from Greece, Iran, and so it's an international banking sector, again very stable. During the revolution, huge crowds, hundreds of thousands of people on the street. Usually under the pressure of revolution, things will be happening where the banking sector, the financial values will diminish, or the national currency will suffer. No, not in the case of Armenia. Armenia is economically, financially stable country. And then when you look at the sectors of Armenia, be that the mining in copper, gold, or molybdenum, be that in agriculture, be that in tourism. If you take agriculture and mining, the government, the new Armenia is looking for sustainable and clean mining, sustainable, clean, natural agriculture. We're looking for increasing the tourism several times, and so on and so forth. So overall, if I try to bring this picture together, I'm here to represent new Armenia, Armenia of 21st century, where this country is not only new with a new government or new leadership or new ideas, but also by spirit. I will call this revolution not only revolution, velvet revolution, but revolution of Armenian style and the development of the country, I will call it the new Armenia. I will name it young Armenia. Young not in the number of the years of the age or something, young by spirit. And young by spirit means also participating in the Industrial Revolution. I will be happy to invite ladies and gentlemen to visit Armenia and to take part and invest in the new Armenia, Armenia of 21st centuries.
Thank you.
Thank you.